As the founder of the Baha'i faith, Baha'u'llah says, "The betterment of the world can be accomplished through pure and goodly deeds, through commendable and seemly conduct." This premise became the guiding principle of my wellness practice, Rock Steady Bodyworks, where we offer yoga, meditation, and self-discovery experiences as an access point for human beings from all walks of life to dive deep within and discover their own potential, transform their character, and train their brains to choose good deeds and pure acts, not sometimes, but always. And I discovered this myself as an early adult when I began my career in Washington, D.C., as a recent Ivy League graduate, directly to a boutique consulting firm. I was easily working 80 to 90 hours a week, and I was immersed in a culture of stress, pressure, and competitiveness. And while I was raised within a strong family with clear spiritual principles and had high standards for my own behavior, I found myself crumbling under the pressure, the lack of sleep, and the energy it took to maintain that pace. I would like to say I was a nice person during those times, but if you call my mom, she'll have something else to say. And that's where the rubber meets the road, right? What is the world around us? Technically and typically, it's the people with whom we interact the most. And I found with that stress and pressure, my capacity to choose good actions faltering. So a friend took me to a yoga class. We're in the middle of DC in the month of August. It's already hot and humid. And we walk into a hot yoga studio where it's even hotter and more humid. We walked into the locker room and we put down our briefcases, took off our hose and our heels, and went barefoot and leggings. When I walked into the yoga room, people were actually looking me in the eyes and smiling. Not how we do it on the streets of DC. And there was this sense of calm, palpably, in this space. I took my place and the class began, and I found myself overwrought with that same sense of stress, pressure, and competition. There was no way I could keep this up all class, trying to be the best, muscling my way through, and trying to make it look the way I thought it should. At one point, I dropped to my mat and I looked around the room and noticed that no one was even looking at me. It wasn't about me at all. The words coming out of the teacher's mouth weren't about my performance. They were encouraging me to be gentle with myself, to be calm, to take it one breath at a time. And in that moment, I realized the only way I was going to make it out of that class alive is instead of fighting, if I dropped in, surrendered, and accepted. And from that moment on, as we moved through the poses and settled into long holds, I discovered this depth of patience and capacity to be in that hold. And as we moved at a fast, rhythmic pace through this continuous flow of movement, I found a zen-like, meditative sense of clarity and focus. Needless to say, when I left class that day, I felt more calm, more connected, and more like myself than I had in years. And I immediately took up a yoga practice, added in a meditation practice, and began to explore self-discovery tools. Not so that I could get to know myself better, but because I believed that within diving deep to my own self, I could uncover God-given gifts that would allow me to show up kind, compassionate, and generous for the world around me. Now, as I had this practice, I also got a promotion at work, and I was under more stress and pressure with less sleep. But almost miraculously, I realized my behavior was holding even. I was able to be patient with my teammates. Yeah? And in moments of tension, I was calm and collected. It was as if these daily practices had transformed my behavior, my conduct, and my character effortlessly, overnight. And I was reminded of another quote from Baha'u'llah. The purpose of the one true God, exalted be his glory, in revealing himself unto men, is to lay bare those gems that lie hidden within the mine of their true and inmost selves. So this became another foundational principle of Rock Steady Bodyworks, where every single one of our wellness practices is infused with the intention to be of service and be an agent of change in the world through diving deep within to the vast world underneath your own skin, the unexplored terrain of your body and brain, the place where you can find those hidden gifts, those things that give you a sense of purpose and meaning, your true calling that you can offer to the world as a service to both yourself and those around you. Now, what's great is that science is catching up with me. And, taking these practices that have been around for thousands of years and providing them with the credibility and validity of scientific exploration. So what we're discovering is that the power poses of yoga create this profound physiological state. In even one session, if the pharmaceutical company could create this drug, billions of dollars, in one session, stress hormones like cortisol plummet. Learning and happiness hormones like dopamine and serotonin rise. Blood pressure drops. Deep rhythmic breathing stimulates your parasympathetic nervous system to drop you into a state of rest and digest. Someone was talking about children earlier. We also call it feed and breed. There's a growing correlation between what happens physically in our bodies and who we are psychologically, mentally, and emotionally. And when we harness this relationship and bring together powerful physical movement, tie it to an altruistic aim like being of service, grounded in the discovery of who you really are, we have the power to change the world. Now, research is making these correlations between mood and biochemistry, attitudes and hormones, resilience and neurochemicals, practice and neuroplasticity. Some examples of what this looks like in our studio is that people are drawn to these practices for a myriad of reasons. Sometimes it's something as simple as we saw your latest post on Instagram and that was a cool pic and I'd love to do that. Other times it's, I'd like to look good, I'd like to feel good. Ultimately, though, I can promise you that every student leaves our studio flexible in mind, body, and soul, awakened to new capacity to contribute, aware of a deep sense of confidence that can only be cultivated when you have the willingness to let a stranger help you into a handstand when you're 48 or 52. We take this even further in our teacher trainings and our yoga immersions, where we invite tribe-sized groups of 20 to 30 students to spend, just 200 hours consecutively with us and devote their entire days to sitting back to back for meditative practice, to listening to each other share what we're learning as we journal and think about big questions like, who are you? What do you believe to be real and true about the world? What activities do you love to do that could offer a service to the world around you? How are you going to make a difference for someone today? And also, as we dive deep into character exploration, where we begin to look at qualities that can easily be cultivated in a meditation practice or a yoga practice, things like resilience, optimism, a sense of contribution, an awareness of the fact that you matter. So we dive deep into these concepts in this group setting, which creates the perfect training ground to do what must be done for any of this to make any difference. We all know that knowing and doing are very different things. We all know that it doesn't matter what you know if you don't correlate it with how you show up, what you do. So in this group environment, we're able to actually interact with one another, taking on this stance that our actions have the power to make a difference, and that we can be a contribution and be of service, both elevating ourselves and the world around us. So, my call to action for you today is this. It's quite possible that you're already doing some sort of physical movement that lends itself to becoming an altruistic, character-building, game-changing, world-altering practice. And there's 4 simple things you can do to elevate it to that status. First of all, make it communal. Take the physical activity you're already doing, running, walking, hiking, stunt doubling, and invite your friends and family to join you. Join a group or create one. When we work on ourselves with each other, we're able to see glimpses of our own growth in other people's experience. We're also given the immediate opportunity to make a difference through the actions we oftentimes write off as too small to matter. Through calling your friend so she can arrive on time, perhaps bringing water for the whole group, or just even offering the encouragement of a high five or a smile as you guys are running or yogaing or whatever it is you choose to do. Second, make it collaborative, not competitive. Cooperative environments naturally evoke a human desire to help and support each other as we walk a path of learning and experience together as peers, coaches, and friends. Number 3, set a self-discovery intention. The way to elevate these incredible physiological experiences is to tie them to a deep inquiry into the very depths of who you are and why you're here. So this could be anything from a powerful question, as I mentioned before, like, what's your purpose? What lights you up? Why do you get out of bed? What's your reason for being? What are the top 5 talents you have that nobody knows about? Except your husband who's seen you do that funny dance when you get out of the shower, right? Or diving deep into another area of character development that is profoundly powerful and useful, because these are the things that matter, and perhaps we haven't had as much training on them as we would like to. These are called virtues. These are positive, powerful character qualities that are innate within each one of us as humans, that if we take on the practice of bringing them into our intention and awareness every day, will alter the way we show up in the world. We theme our meditation experiences and our yoga classes around each one of these. If you'd like to bring this home and do something powerful with it right away, just go ahead and visit thevirtuesproject.com, where you can get a deck of virtue cards, which, again, if you're in a fight with your husband, you can pull out a virtue and show it to him. Just kidding. But they are really useful, and they're an empowering way to start to put your focus on how to show up in the world. Lastly, set a goal of 5 acts of service each session. If I could distill my entire message down to one thing, it would be this: practice. Where life happens is in the physical world, through our bodies, into our actions and the people around us. What we know from neuroscience is that the way to create sustainable behavior is to start with an act, do it regularly so it becomes a habit and then a pattern. These, again, can be quite simple. Things like running to a park and planting flowers, Things like bringing your old yoga clothes to donate. Things like picking up your friend, maybe even stopping for a cup of coffee on the way home. So ultimately, my perspective on life is that it's actually quite easy for us to make a difference as long as we remember that we matter, and that the size of what we do is not correlated to the impact it can have. My question is this: is it possible that the world is ready to enhance our perspective of what wellness is from something that just benefits our physical health to an abiding practice that can transform our behavior, create good humans who choose to do good things, not just sometimes, but all the time? I think the answer to that question is a resounding yes. Do you? Thank you.